Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, here as always with Kyle Fergusson. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fabulous, Garrett. How are you doing?
Oh, shaking it off. I feel a little bruised. I might have a cracked rib. I just took a really hard tumble down the ladder yesterday on your stream.
It was a rough go.
It was a rough go. It was a very rough go. You and I we did some talking off air, and I was just like, how much of it is me? How much of it is other people? Because I left yesterday, Kyle, thinking to myself, I don't think Sylvanas is bringing it anymore. But then I thought about it for a second, and I'm like, we had basically like no tanks for our first three games. And
it's strange.
I don't know how much to read into that or to read into the Sylvanas side of things. But yeah, you were thinking that I should probably add a little mobility sustained damage into the roster, which
Sylvanas does stand still a bit and can be very weak when tanks are weak. And remember too, that when you and I play together, we are taking Diamond Plat, and that environment, one isn't as usually Smurf heavy and has a lot of people that are almost diamond and very easy to tilt. I think too that bruisers just a really fun place to be right now, and that's going to be exacerbated by today's patch that we're going to talk about a little bit. So not a lot of people want to be tanking, and not a lot of people want to be doing ranged sustained damage. So that's a great place to put yourself, but we need to clean up rosters for it.
Yeah. Like, honestly, dude, I'm thinking, do I just go back to Vala for crying out loud? Like, bring the vault back? Do I try to live that dream? I don't think so. I still think the answer is no. I think the answer is Lunara. And I just need to come to it with fresh eyes, dude, because I tried getting on the Lunara train very early, and I hated the way she moved. It really threw me for a loop.
She's got a slow attack speed, so when it comes to Lunara, you just got to embrace the leaping and make sure you're leaping between each attack. Sylvanas and Raynor have kind of taught you wrong. I think Sylvanas is probably one of the greatest offenders of it. Her attack animation is so slow to load up that once you stand still, you're like, oh, this is the Sylvanas damage mode. I love this. And you stop stutter stepping, and Sylvanas has therefore become bad Cassias and Lunaras, and maybe even things like Thralls that have this really great fast attack speed.
I think you're not wrong to a certain degree, because if you're climbing, you'll probably hit a point where you can just stand still and it works, and you feel like a god, and you feel like you're styling on them even though you're standing still, and it can certainly become a bad habit.
It's also about knowing when you can stand still, which is probably about the hardest thing to teach anybody in this game. Waiting on the butcher charge, waiting for the Stitches hook to be out, to use one relevant from our games yesterday, and then make your engagement. It takes patience, and Heroes of the Storm is not a game that teaches patience.
It's all about counting cooldowns.
Yeah, I mean, I'd also recommend to you Falstad and just about everybody out there. There's a lot of bruisers, a lot of mages in the world. It's a great time to really have a go-to support, tank, and ranged assassin. But I agree. I mean, Vala to me is such a huge burden on the draft that I don't like her in most situations. You can overcompensate with a Morales, but then the rest of the team is kind of lacking that focus. That could mean just an absolute win. I'm not really sure who else I would support Vala with at this point.
I'm not too sure either. I think she still will just be Battlefield of Eternity for me, and I should probably not put too much stock into her beyond that. So, anyways, in other news, outside of me, dude, what are you seeing happening in the Nexus?
Oh man, I've put a lot of work into Malfurion recently and really been enjoying that. Mal'Ganis is still in this really weird spot where you have no idea if the enemy team even knows how to counter you. There is counter drafting, but people then have to play a style that counters Mal'Ganis, and he's gone back into that first ban territory a little bit here. Probably the biggest confusion right now outside of today's patch is Deathwing and whether we should be banning him or countering him. But I think our bans are going to be a little taken up by people like Zul and Samuro for this next 2 weeks.
I think that is likely. I think that is likely, Kyle. Did you want to talk about your theory that you talked about with me yesterday?
Yeah.
Before we get into bugs, because once we crack the seal on bugs, man, we're in Patch Town. So I'd like to take a moment and tee you up for. Let's call this half a roll of aluminum foil.
Oh, I mean, it's the hardy stuff, you know.
Yeah, maybe not a tinfoil hat, but like a tinfoil party hat, you know, a smaller one.
There is a bit of a trend developing in the Diamond Masters territory right now, where the meta is being dictated by Smurfs, and in particular, Smurfs don't have heroes, and as these Smurfs level up, they reach Masters again and start another Smurf. So my meta is full of Artanis, but last week it was full of Zagars and Butchers, and all these heroes are seeing increased win rates at the moment, and I was wondering why. Well, I lined up the free-to-play heroes from last week with increases in win rates, and then this week with increases in win rates, and it seems that the upper meta is being entirely dictated by Smurfs on the free-to-play hero rotation.
Wow! So you've got you've looked at 2 weeks and 2 weeks of free-to-play rotation, and it lines up.
It seems to be. It's it's strange that these heroes are rising in popularity. It's strange that there was so much Artanis in my games that I started to get a little curious about it. And it's a natural progression of things. As I said, if you're going to be skilled, make a Smurf, and then end up in territory where you can no longer play with your friends, you're going to run out of your ready-to-go Smurfs, and you're going to make another one and use the free-to-play rotation. So when we're talking about win rates over the next couple of weeks, until we find some sort of fix or change to this Masters environment, we're going to have to take free-to-play rotation into account. And that is so weird, because when we first started this show, I remember I came to you and I was like, maybe we could do like a free-to-play, like what strategy like free-to-play would have influence on. And we're just like, you know, never mind. People will buy the heroes they want eventually, and that'll be how we play this game.
It's certainly interesting to think about that. Yeah. We were a 2-stack and went against a 5-stack of the Heroes Hearth stream yesterday, so it certainly feels a little bit like Smurf and be slapping right now.
We did a great job. We almost had that game.
We did. You suck, Li Ming.
Well, the learning process you can take from that, and everyone on the internet can take from that moment, was sometimes one hero will die more than another. Sometimes it's more about when you died that through a game, less so than the number of deaths.
I mean, I shouldn't have died as many times as I did, but at least I know not to stand behind a wall that's about to die post 20.
That's the problem, right? Is the when you're trying to style on the enemy team and you're staring down a Grandmaster tank Muradin who has his leap talents from the late game
on his Diamond 5 account.
Yeah, I mean, Blizzard matchmaking was doing all it can in that situation to
on
give
comms
us
with the 4 other players. I disagree. I think matchmaking failed us. You and I had a heated debate, and I stand by it that the amount of people in your pre-made stack should count for something. So just matching up the colors of leagues is not enough. And I feel a little scandalous, Cal. I think they're obfuscating. I think they started obfuscating those team up icons so that we wouldn't complain to them and hold their matchmaking accountable.
I don't think it's so much about that they complain, because we can find it on the back end. It was about the tilt that people were going into the games thinking the enemy team already had an advantage and giving up.
Well, that is true. But at the same time, we got that game almost instantly. I would have been happy to have waited for a more even matchup.
How long did they wait? We had an increased MMR over what their Smurfs were. Like, oh man, I have a lot of sympathy for it. But then again, like I love how destructive that moment was to your psyche, because that's the world I live in right now. I am ETC and going up against grandmasters on Smurfs all the time, and I just look awful out there sometimes because there's not a lot ETC can do if someone's not pressuring the back line, for instance. And I look bad, but you just kind of, by nature of exposure to it, move on to the next one.
I mean, I've been playing against Masters this entire season because I play with friends higher than me. So I'm getting flown into plenty of Masters games myself. I'm just hammering home they're a 5-stack. Why? How is it even possible? It doesn't matter that they're on Smurfs. That's just insult to injury. Like, why is a 2-stack going up against a 5-stack?
What I'm curious about is if other leagues feel as variant in their skill base right now. So if you are in bronze, silver, gold, outside of just like someone having a good day or getting some lucky shots, does the entire game for everyone feel as unknown as the territories we're dealing with? And it is fun.
Yeah.
It has its own fun to it.
In a way. I mean, if it makes you, if you make it constructive, which I'm trying my best to do, which is like, okay, where do I need to shore things up? Because clearly I need to take a look at something. It's just that I'm having a difficult time kind of pinpointing what the issue, but like what is lacking overall, because it seems to change almost from game to game. Like, because yesterday it seemed like we had an issue with tanks, but only for the first few games, and then it kind of became an issue with damage dealers. And but overall, like, if any, the closest thing to a trend I can find, and the issues that you and I have been facing, is with, like, for lack of a better word, like snowflake picks. Like, people are just like, I'm gonna just slam Tyrael, or I'm just gonna slam Stitches. Like, and folks that refuse to flex. And in a lot of cases, they're not even one-tricking. I don't mind one-tricking. And as a matter of fact, I would really prefer it if you inform me that you consider yourself a one-trick and like would really prefer to be on this hero because that's who you have practiced. I have a lot of respect for that, actually. But the folks who are just like, you look at their profile and they're playing like 7 different heroes, and just for some reason they just really want to lock Tyrael that game. I'm using that as an example, but I've seen it time and time over.
Happened.
Right. But like solo tank Stitches, like they're just like to me, my arms up like proclamation is, why can't I just have a normal draft? That's the closest thing to a trend I can reach, but it's hard to actually take any action on that. Cause like, whatever, like, what do you do? I'm just sitting here complaining. So I'm trying to find a more actionable thread that I can go, oh, it's tanking. All right. I'm gonna be the tank. Oh, it's damage. Okay, I'm gonna be the damage. But right now I'm seeing so many disparate elements that are just weird and change from game to game that I don't really know where to apply myself.
Well, and that's where you're starting to think wrong about the game. And I would not say this is complaining. This is all constructive therapy, because we have a problem to fix. And with this balance patch today, there's going to be a lot of new elements, even more variance in the game. We need to fix that mindset. So over this season, I've gone from 1 game to Masters, down to Diamond 5, back up to Diamond 2. And I began to have that same mindset. Oh, if I'm not tank, the tank is bad. If I'm not mage, the mages are bad. The healer is bad if I'm not healing. What always works for me in the end is way more effort. And that is looking at every single profile on my team and judging what sort of player that is. And I've got main tank. I'm looking for people who tank. I'm looking for people who support fill, because a lot of people would rather do other things, but there are people who regularly play supports and find themselves in those roles. They just don't declare it. And special agents, I call them, who play whatever the heck they want. If it's a green screen special agent, then we're very free there. If it's a red screen special agent, we're a bit in trouble, but I'm going to try to empower that pick because it's going to happen no matter what. That's where the draft starts to get really interesting, but it is, I'm on stream a lot of the time, so I'm making content by talking this much. But if I was sitting at home in the dark, like, do I want to go through all that effort all the time? Not really. I'd rather just do what your brain's doing. Just find the problem and fix it and let me slam one hero over and over again. I really suggest you start going through those profiles and seeing who really is skilled at what they're doing.
And I like that. That's interesting. There's a lot of clicking in the beginning, but that's fine. That's when you have the time.
There's some time where like the thing hasn't popped yet. You don't know if you're banning. There's load up times and times between picks that a lot of this can be done. And I'm actually making some drafting videos right now over on Heroes Hearth that are showcasing like how extreme my choices can be. And you need those extreme opinions when you're drafting, because in Plat and particularly in Diamond, that's where you get your edge. And I think we can be empowered by your interview with Jackson last week. In that mindset, he is making sure there is counterplay to everything he creates. The draft is where you dodge counterplay and have those sweet picks where you say, no true stuns over there. And I'm not talking like, oh, Mosh Pit Town, that's too late. I'm talking about like, truly, you have no counters in this game and you get to be a butt on the battlefield.
It's a good way to look at it. It's a good way to look at it. So let's do that. But before we get into the patch, we want to thank those of you who are supporting us over at patreon.com/ITN. If you like Into the Nexus, if you like what we're doing, this is the best way to support the show. So head on over to patreon.com/ITN and give it a look. It's an opt-in subscription. You can literally sign up at any level that works for you. You can give any amount that works for you, and we really appreciate it. Like this is how we literally pay our bills. So thank you very much. And also you get some perks. We got like an ad-free feed. You can get in the patron-only Discord. You can sign up to play games with us for our patron bonanzas every month. Some cool stuff. And we want to thank some of our newer patrons. So thank you to Not Miles Davis, Shannon Wildenstein, Timothy Sargent, and Soph. Soph is in here, dude.
Nice.
Thanks, Soph.
Long-time community manager, mod of my stream, no less. So good to see you, Soph.
Yeah. It's awesome to see. We really, really freaking appreciate it. But there is a giant balance patch once again, and also some bugs we need to talk about. So let's get into this week's Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Let's liven up this place!
Point me to the stage.
Stay a while and listen.
So, yeah, there's some bugs, and it's all Reddit wants to scream and set things on fire about. Where do you want to start?
I do want to start with the bugs because these are going to highlight your coming weeks, depending how long these take to get fixed. Like the Phoenix movement speed bug is fixed. Your Rel's lane clear bug is fixed. They're working through these. We posted, and it's on Reddit as well, a text interview with Jackson. He went through and answered all of our questions. We spent a lot of time on his philosophies. If you want really particular answers to things like why is Mal'Gannis's winged guard bug in there, the answer is it's bugged. And I'm balancing to a world where that is fixed. Not an exact quote, but that's basically the answer, and we would have moved on. We didn't include it in the interview. So all the balance that is coming through the pipeline is ignoring bugs. The difficulty is Zul got a big rework, and he is experiencing brand new bugs, and a Samuro bug at level 7 Phantom Pain is very painful, does a lot of bonus damage. Basically, he deals bonus damage on crit whenever he has illusions out per illusion he has, and that damage number is way inflated. Sammys are already really buggy players. They use hearth tricks. They use a lot of tricks, in all honesty, and they will exploit these. When you find the thread talking about Mal'Gannis's wing guard bug, everyone's doing a bit of, I know how to activate the armor all the time, don't you? Well, I do too. I'm not going to say it here, but, you know, all of us Mal'Gannises who are in the know, it's just a frustrating situation. I can't speak for the devs here, but they're gamers too. Like, you have to think that this is frustrating for them, that they don't want these bugs to be in existence, and it takes a lot of work to fix them. It's going to dictate our meta. You got 6 bans. Maybe we should be banning bugged heroes.
I mean, that's your recourse at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Like that's really your only true true choice. I mean, so everyone's really hung up on the Zool bugs, but how do you feel about Samuro, Mal'Ganis, or Asmodunk before we get into Zool?
It's tough because Mal'Ganis in past patches is receiving nerfs without this bug being adjusted. That's frustrating for Mal'Ganis players on both sides of the spectrum. I have been, because of so much mage play, not picking Wingguard in quite a few games and still having great Mal'Ganis time. As I said, Summoners are already very buggy, exploity players. Goes with the territory. I mean, imagine if Murky was bugged, right? All the Murkies would be playing bug things. Can't blame them. They're already annoying characters in that right. Zul's is... a lot of his power right now is coming from bugs. And that's a real shame when the new Zool rework is so damn fun, Garrett. It's an awesome, awesome rework. And his power will be greatly adjusted downward, if not compensated for, when these bugs are fixed.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I played a lot of Zool games, and he didn't feel that great, frankly. In my opinion, he kind of felt very samey, and unless we were already ahead, it didn't feel like these bugs were bringing a lot to the table. It's a anecdotal, experience for me, but
you were quick matching, right?
Yes.
So there's too many ranged in quick match for Zool to have a good time.
I mean, I had a surprising amount of games with a tank and a healer.
Okay. I mean, still, like, dedicated solo lane, like Zool now as a bruiser, as a solo laner, has a very real place. The problem is skeletons now have baked in death explosions, which deal damage, and that damage is applying twice.
Yeah. That's the big freaking bug, right? So because it also has an interaction with a new, like a revamped level 20 talent that keeps your heroics on stupid low cooldowns.
Yeah, and since it's ticking twice, that means lower cooldowns twice as much. Scythes in the text say that doesn't count towards the maximum number of skeletons, but skeletons will still despawn as new skeletons are created, which is good while there's double explosion damage, because those skeletons are exploding and dealing lots and lots of damage and stacking and doing all sorts of cool things with your other talents. I mean, Zool, if you go online, granted, we're not the size of World of Warcraft here at Heroes of the Storm, but you're going to go online and see Zool OP broken. How could Blizzard have done this? Like, Zool still has all of his old counters. Zool will, and it's really fun, beat Skeleton King in a solo lane. Beat Ragnaros in a solo lane. Maybe Dahaka, haven't gotten to try that one. Maybe Chen, haven't gotten to try that one. But any melee hero is going to really suffer into Zool. As the game goes on, blue build is still an amazing thing to do. Scythe build is darn all right and provides skeletons that get in Li Ming's way and all sorts of cute stuff. Zagara, Raynor, anyone with range who takes the solo lane is completely out of Bone Prison range. And Zool has, just as he always has had, a huge counter. And it's right there. Like, you will be destroyed by Zagara. You cannot handle Zagara. Zool is not busted. But you have to draft right.
Yeah. He has the potential to be busted.
He always, I mean, remember, like, when the blue build first came out, this is the auto attack, swingy, swipey build. We had a boss fight. We lost it. Every fight you take in a pile, you lose versus Zool. Popularized by HGC back in the day.
Yeah. It's a lot of incoming damage, and because of Bone Prison, you can hold one target like completely still. If you add any other additional CC into your comp on top of that, it can get real oppressive real quick. So
and for chat's sake, we did zoom through an Asmodan bug. It's an Asmodunk bug. The skin is causing Q to cast slower than a normal Q, and that has not been fixed yet.
Yeah. So maybe don't use your Asmodunk skins if you're out there in Asmodan land doing Asmodan things. So that's the thing. I mean, it's certainly, it exists. It is a real bug. It is having an effect on the game. I just feel like, goodness gracious, it's a little over focused on at the moment.
I feel like in terms of balance right now, we're okay to ban Sammy and Zool if that's what you want to do with your early bans. Is it?
I mean, if that's what you want to do with your life.
Right. Is it beautiful and healthy? And, you know, we all want Zool to be functional on this cool new rework release. Like, it's a bummer, but yeah, it's overblown, and we can dodge it with proper banning. That's why we have bans. Should Blizzard go through and turn off heroes that are heavy exploitable like Sammy? Maybe. That would be very fluid of them. Just turn on the game and suddenly grade out heroes. That might be nice.
I wouldn't be mad about that, but again, after talking to AZ Jackson last week, it's like, is that one of those things that are secretly way harder to actually do than we think?
Our assumption is that it's easy because back in beta, edge of beta, a year in, they turned off Kael'thas for a little bit because he was busted.
I honestly forgot about that.
So there's a part of our brain that has a memory of a time where this could be done, and that's why it's being suggested.
Well, anyway, let's get to the actual patch itself, because we're going to come back around to Zool and do our best to talk about the rework without the bug in mind.
Right.
So let's see how much we actually execute on that. But let's get to the patch. First up is, we're starting with tanks, is Arthas. The devs said that Arthas is slightly underperforming compared to other warriors, so they're going to give him a small baseline health buff. They also said that they took a look at his level 20 talents and beefed them all to be more epic, in their words. And they did exactly that. A substantial health increase going from 2,782 to 2,860. And regen went up accordingly with that. And I like to see these kinds of things, especially on tanks that I kind of miss playing. I haven't been playing a lot of Arthas myself, even though I feel like he's had a little bit of a resurgence lately. I'm not gonna take credit just because we got Death Coil fixed, but like, I've been seeing a little bit of Arthas peppered in my game, not a ton, but it reminded me of when Korea was teaching us how to Arthas in HGC. Like,
I mean, Sindragosa is really fun, has some very actionable moments. Solo lane Arthas is slightly coming back thanks to the Q build. There is a butting of heads of Arthas philosophies that Icebound Fortitude is still 100% a must-have at all times, which leads to tilt if you do another build. And here we have a rune tap buff from 4% to 5%. If you're not familiar with rune tap, every third basic attack heals you for 5% of your maximum health. This is like, I've got a scandalous place for talents like this, and it's versus Johanna, who is way too busy blinding everybody else to ever blind a tank. I do a full auto attack heal build on myself on Diablo versus Johanna. I love doing Diablo versus Johanna because Johanna can't do a thing about you, or she uses her stun and you're all deep and it doesn't bounce anywhere. Rune tap has a place, and it just got really, really solid. Drafting it correctly is very difficult. Think about how often you are actually just standing there auto-attacking one person, and they're not winning that exchange as a tank.
Okay. All right. So are you going rune tap is my follow-up question. Are you doing it?
I would go rune tap versus Johanna.
Okay.
Because Johanna's always standing there thinking they're doing something on the Sky Temple point when really they're hitting with a pillow and you're winning the fight.
Yeah.
Would I do it versus anybody I have to chase? Never. Would I do it versus Uther? Maybe, but I found Fortitude's really good. I don't want to be in Imperious's range, so I'm running away. A Kalthazad is causing me to run interesting directions all the time. Like, there's a time and place for it, but it's cool. It's better.
Yeah. Are you excited to try going Army of the Dead again because of how Legion of Northrend got tweaked at level 20? Because they added new functionality that it also increases your ghoul basic attack damage by 50%. So you're still getting 3 additional ghouls. You're still healing for 50% more. They're still lasting 5 seconds longer. Now they're also doing a lot more damage.
I mean, granted, they just added the text into the game where we can see how much damage they deal. Here in the try mode screen, It says 20 damage and auto attack. A lot of these values are often weird because they're level 1 values for level 10 abilities. So you won't be, owning people with this damage, but it's kind of nice.
But the way it's with scaling, it should hurt.
I like, chunk. Yeah, I like the theming. I'm actually jumping in game here. Let's see. So we're looking at 30 damage and auto attack at level 10. Let's go all the way up to 20 and see just how much a good old ghoul does. All right, spawning ghouls, clicking them. 68 damage and auto attack.
68 damage and auto attack times 9 ghouls?
If they're all surrounding and not farting off or, getting consumed because you're spamming that as hard as possible so you don't die.
All right. I don't know.
It's a great addition. I love it. We've talked multiple shows on about how much Arthas needs help at 20 compared to other heroes. He is the Lich King, and it didn't feel as epic. So I love that they went through and increased the root duration on Absolute Zero, the slow duration. Death's Advance now lasts 5 seconds instead of just 3 seconds. Anti-Magic Shield now lasts 4 seconds instead of 3 seconds. Like that. These are all healthy changes.
Okay. Still don't love Anti-Magic Shield. Is for me. Like, it's just such a dull talent. I still miss Hardened Shield because it just did work.
It's got one place in my mind, and that's first Kel'Thuzad, because you are slow and lumbering, and you will be used as a primary initial chain target for the fight.
Yeah, it's very, very specific. But anyways, I most of these changes I'm pretty damn happy about.
Well, I want to introduce a philosophy to you, and it's one I've really learned with Malfurion. Malfurion heals over time. So if you draft Malfurion correctly, you are going to go Tranquility because you're countering sustained damage over time.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why you do Twilight Dream is because you say, you know what, Zeratul too bursty. I can't deal with Mephisto in my face bursting me down. Like he's kind of sustaining, but he gets in close and you want to silence him. You know what I mean? We need to think of more heroes like that. Anti-Magic Shield exists as an emergency moment because you made the mistake of taking Arthas into Kel'Thuzad. You took a low mobility hero into Kel'Thuzad, and he's going to punish you for it. What level 20 is the ideal situation? And I'm thinking nowadays it's starting to be Sindragosa.
I agree with you. And so do most Arthuses that I have been teamed with recently. I've seen very, very little Army of the Dead happening. It just works. So now let's enjoy the fantasy for a moment. The first time in World of Warcraft I saw a ghoul do that and like jump thing. Mm-hmm. It's kind of cheesy because how World of Warcraft moves. Things just sort of like lift. It always plays that boar sound too, and then it like lifts up off its feet with no action of its legs and flies at a target. Yeah. Where you going with this?
What if the ghouls at level 20 did that whenever you landed a root?
Oh, if they started leaping?
Yeah.
I'd be very into that.
Right? Like let's ignore, maybe you even increase the auto attack damage. Let's see if we can get our ghouls to go rare on a target that is hit by Howling Blast.
Yes. This is, however, cool. This isn't really like a rework. This is just a little sprucing up.
Yeah, this is a sprinkle.
So like a longer root duration, slow duration on Absolute Zero. Yeah, awesome. I'm super into this. Death's Advance, I like that too. It's just making the level 20s better. I like Absolute Zero. I like Death's Advance. Anti-Magic Shell still just not... it doesn't inspire me.
Well, Doribo in the chat says you can dodge Last Rites with it because that's spell damage.
Okay. Well, I actually like that better than the Kel'Thuzad because the Kel'Thuzad, it's like, well, they're still landing the chain on me and it's still probably getting my buddy killed.
Right. You've already drafted wrong. You should be Mal'Ganis there and pop into bats before Last Rite hits and just dodge the whole heroic at level 10 rather than 20.
Yes. Yeah. Also, the Mal'Ganis will be very fed at that point.
Yes, that is true. The long road for poor Arthas into Malthael.
It is. But let's talk about Diablo, because Diablo's up here as well, and the tank's getting some changes. The dev said that since they changed Devastating Charge, Diablo has fallen off a bit. So they're giving him a little bit of that back in the form of a baseline buff to Shadow Charge so that he can have some of that fantasy back no matter how players choose to build him. Are you coming out of retirement, Fergusson?
No. I was never in retirement. I was, For some reason, I'm thinking of Old Man on the Porch movie.
Gran Torino?
Was that? Yeah, I think so. What's a good movie where like an old man has the skills still, but he has to throw down again?
I mean, that's Gran Torino. I mean, you're just describing Westerns at a certain point. Logan.
Logan.
True Grit.
Oh, you know what? Let's just ignore the old man part. Wait, now I'm about to say Alan Wake. Oh my God, the Keanu Reeves with guns.
John Wick. Keanu Reeves with guns is actually not very specific.
It's not, but you got me there. Yeah, you know, with the facial hair, right? Like there we go. Okay. Now we're clarifying. Yeah. Diablo's John Wick, right? Like you're trying to live a nice innocent life, play ETC, play Johanna. But every once in a while, man, they mess up that draft and kill your dog, and you're going to go Diablo.
Okay, fair. Because I got to say, man, in the back of my mind, when I think Heroes of the Storm, I think Kyle, I still think Diablo.
And I think I'm flattered that you do so because I love playing the guy. Hanzo's, Li Ming's, Vala's. If there's an opportunity, oh, man, I love to unleash the Diablo. It's a late pick, and in that way, I think our tanks are kind of healthy right now. The bans are what's really hurting tanks right now. Arthas, Diablo. I'm going to throw Mal'Ganis in there if he was properly played against and countered. Like, a lot of our tanks are great last picks after you see the entire enemy team lined up before you. And we've got ETC and Johanna as a great sort of like initial, I don't know what's happening, but here's a general tank for everything. Early lead. The problem is that ETC Johanna are receiving bans to limit down the tank pool so things get weird. Then we're banning Mal'Ganis and Garrosh, right? So like some games you just get in there and you're like, I guess this is main tank and Nubarak, and it's fine because there's nothing left to be better than you at that point.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. It's kind of like, hey, it's time to start dusting off the tanks you've been ignoring because you may just be left having to play them. Although I have a feeling Zul is going to open up a little bit of banning. But you're right. Like Zul should get fixed at some point, and then we're back in this, right?
Right.
Little preview of my thought of the Zul rework, bugs aside. But so whatever the case is, terrain slamming as Diablo getting its damage upped, not enough for you?
It's great. That is the fantasy. I'm glad it got 10 more damage that scales over the game. Diabolic momentum was slightly improved too, so just nice. I welcome it.
Cool. Okay. Well,
won't make me take Diablo any earlier than I am right now.
Gotcha. All right. Well then, let's talk about Tyrael, my favorite. Please stop.
Don't hurt yourself there, Garrett.
Please stop picking Tyrael. Dev said defensively
has a place.
Yes.
And that place.
The place is the dumpster.
Butcher. No, it's Sanctification Butcher. That is a real place for Tyrael.
In the trash. Dev said Defense of the Angels no longer has a cooldown reduction component. We're reducing its cooldown to be more in line with similar effects. So that's exactly what they did. The cooldown was literally halved. It went from 120 to 60 seconds.
Activate to gain 50 armor for 5 seconds. Each time Righteous Shield absorbs damage, Defense of the Angels cooldown is reduced.
Boy, they are just open war on 20s. Like, bets are off the table unless you're Arthas. And
what, that was nice. All right, Arthas got some nice gifts.
It's fine. It's just not like there's just a numbers game at work here, right? I look at this and I go, wow, just half off. All right. And you look at Arthas and you go, you got like a second here and 2 seconds there. And I mean, I think in some cases we were actually getting close to like 50% increased territory on Arthas, but still.
No, this is nice if Tyrael's being targeted down and organized play where you're going to see the most Tyrael. That's why this change is happening. At home, we're going to do Seal of Eldrune before we do Defense of the Angels, because it feels like such a, I got to make up for everything. I picked the wrong hero. This is for competitive play.
Gotcha. Well, let's move into Bruisers then and talk about Imperius. Dev said they're giving Imperius a slew of buffs to underperforming talents, and that's basically what's going on here from level 1 all the way up to level 20. Lots of underpicked talents getting some sprucing up.
If you like Imperius and you're not taking him as a giant killer, you're going to be rather happy with these changes.
Yeah. Or you could just say quick match Imperius.
Yeah, quick match Imperius.
Probably need to flex your builds a little bit. And so there's some interesting power in here to be found. 2 level 20s getting messed with. Unrelenting Descent, having the cooldown reduction increase from 5 to 10 seconds. That's nice. And Brand of Solarian is having the duration increase from 3 to 5 seconds. So kind of this feels a little more Arthas-like, a little more modest shoring up of what these level 20s were already doing, just making them better.
Right. The big deal here is that they gave 10 armor to press forward at level 4 because it's competing with Sovereign's armor, which gives 50 armor for 2.5 seconds with Molten armor active. So they're realizing that in order to compete at level 4 with such a big amount of armor, they're going to have to compete alongside too with Battle Hunger that got a buff. And that does make for a bit of a choice and could change your play style.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready for eulogy?
All right, bring it on.
All right, Rexar. Dev said we're nerfing his ability to keep Misha alive. To compensate him for this nerf, we're increasing something that doesn't matter. His basic attack damage.
You one-trick sad man.
Yes, because I'm not picking Rexar for his auto attacks. Misha feels terrible now and just dies.
Okay, his basic attack damage was increased by 9 for Rexar. Misha's health was reduced by 100 with matching health regeneration. The big hit to me as an inexperienced, I think this is a good place for Rexar kind of player, is that Menpet's mana was increased. And when you're losing as Rexar, it's because you're out of mana. And that one hurts the most to me.
I'm not sure it's as relevant if Misha is dead because you don't now have anything to use your mana on.
I mean, these are pretty incremental. It's 10 mana. It's 100 health for Misha. Like, I wouldn't just dismiss her. And the counterplay possibilities for when you get Misha on a point before, like, that's literally how you beat Chen. Is that Misha is on the point before Chen got there.
Yes, that was the only way you beat Chen.
Right.
That was it.
But now with the increased auto attack damage, you're clearing that lane maybe a little faster, getting Rexar in range of Chen. Hang on, that's not a right statement. I see what. I'm playing games.
You just lose to Chen now. Congratulations, enjoy that. I will say that Chen is working harder than you were in that situation. That's fine. They signed up for it.
So maybe Chen deserves to win just on the nature that he's working really hard to pull off that kit rather than, Rexar is, of course, you're controlling 2 heroes and it's complicated, an initial investment. But once you have the play style down, it can be rather simple.
It can be. Misha is one of the easiest targets to hit in this game right now, in a game where they have gone to great lengths to make skill shots a lot harder to hit across the board. And Misha is one of these outliers that can very, very easily get stealth punished by just giving you a guaranteed quest, just farm. And this just bums me out.
Well, what about Aspect of the Hawk? That increases your attack speed. What about Frenzy of Kalimdor? That increases your basic attack damage.
If you're going in, doubling down on auto attack, why didn't you just play an auto attacker?
Because you needed a bruiser? No, I'm doing my best to counter you, but I do think this takes Rexar into a less frustrating place. And maybe like Sammy, that's the problem with him, is that his playstyle is the frustrating place. So when you destroy the frustration place, we lost the character. Old Murky. Like, I still know Murkies who do not touch new Murky because the death timer is too long. That's not why they play Murky.
I don't know. I just really felt like if you drafted like Sylvanas or Tychus or something into a Rexar, you were just murdering that bear, and that was rough, and it required you to draft. And now I think most heroes can kill Misha, and it doesn't matter.
The Tychus situation is really, really interesting to me, because maybe a product of the Smurfs as well, but we have a lot of Tychuses taking the solo lane in the game, and they are wrecking because they are outranging their bruiser opponent. Granted, Tychus might be in range of Zul in some situations, so that might not be as bad. He's got a level 1 talent for range, though, so that could still be an issue.
He does.
Either way.
Yeah, you're kind of in a Chen situation there where I think the Tychus has to work pretty freaking hard to make that work and not screw up.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tychus' stock is certainly up, which, yeah, I don't know. I'm too close to this one.
Sure.
I would like to recuse myself, Kyle.
That's fine. In that situation with Tychus, is the team draft on the enemy side losing a ranged assassin, or do they have 2 ranged assassins in the 4-man lane and the top is losing? That's where that puzzle is. I'm not sure if it's a problem yet. Do we need to, like, how interesting would it be to give Tychus minigun at 4? It's a weird situation, right? That's an odd suggestion, but
yeah, I'm with you. I think it might be too early. It's really a trend I've noticed in like the last week.
Yeah.
So I'd like a little more time with Tychus, if for no other reason than my own use. So, yeah, but yeah, this health nerf really hurts because as far as I'm concerned, Misha is the hero. So
I feel you.
Anyways, Zul. Time to talk about Zul again. Let's talk about the actual rework here and not so much the buffs, and kind of give our impressions of how we feel this rework lands in hopefully a post-hotfix world where the bugs are addressed. So the Zul rework has arrived. In the dev comments, they said that Zul now has the ability to spawn skeletal warriors in combat via his spectral scythe, and they now explode for damage when they die, giving enemy heroes a reason to stay away from them while they mow them down, which sometimes is not always your choice if you are bone prisoned. So, yeah, all this is happening. So we got a base health increase. Twice the health that Misha lost was given over to Zul. And so we got 200 more health. His basic attack damage was reduced. Everything from now on will be done.
It's not going to be a thing from now on. You're just like, Diablo got buffed by 2 Misha's worth.
Yes, all health buffs will be in Misha health units. That's what will be going on. So you could have killed Misha twice for how much health that Zul got. Yeah, that's what that equates out to.
But you have to agree that Rexar is the new measure of auto attack increases.
No, because no one cares, because you should have taken Zul Jin.
Ooh. Well, yeah, yes, that's entirely different.
Rexar is a Zul Jin without abilities with Misha dead. Back to Zul.
You die like Misha dies and someone in chat's like, should have done Zul'jin for the solo lane noob.
Anyways, Zul also lost a little bit of basic attack damage, which I think is kind of a moot point considering how the rest of his kit has been shored up. Spectral Scythe had its damage reduced, but it has additional functionality now where when you hit enemy heroes, it spawns a skeletal warrior, which is pretty cool. I like this. Yeah.
If you're dragging it across a team, you are going to spawn 1 skeletal warrior for each hero that these hit. You still have your level 13 talent that summons additional scythe. So there could be a lot of skeletons flying around. We talked a little bit about the bug where maybe these aren't supposed to be despawning skeletons, but at the same time, they're exploding old skeletons, which is working in your favor.
The ones summoned from the scythe.
Right.
So the ones summoned from the scythe do count towards your maximum. So they should be despawning skeletons.
Well, the text on Zul says otherwise.
I thought that was just on Bone Prison.
Hang on a second.
I thought that was just on the Bone Prison quest.
Let's consult the game.
Yeah, you have to go into the game because fan sites haven't been updated yet.
Yeah, so at the Spectral Scythe in-game says these do not count towards Zul maximum raised skeleton, which is now lowered. So we're looking at lower auto attack damage, lower scythe damage, lower numbers of skeletons from your passive when you're in lane, which is now 3, but you're spawning lots of skeletons and they're exploding, and their explosions count as damage for all minions or skeletons deal damage to the enemy types of talents.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. All right. So then, yeah, that is just wrong. That shouldn't be working that way.
So overall, the blue build is still fully intact. This is where you do everything Curse Strike, and you get the heal, you get the auto attacks, you do Shackler because it slows, and every auto attack decreases the cooldown of your bone armor. That is still there with skeletal mages in full, and it's still as beautiful as it once was. Now Jailers is getting really interesting because we are spawning skeletons out of lane. Towers of Doom fighting over that objective. Zool now has a presence there. Your late game scythe talents as you make your way into maybe Decrepify, but ultimately the mortal wounds for a 75% less healing on the enemy side. All that is getting really, really cool. And as a solo laner last night, I had a lot of success against any bruiser who didn't have range to bother me.
That's, I mean, you're talking while laning, right?
Right. While laning in drafted games, I was spamming Zool, and I had an awesome time of it.
Did you run into a Sonya? I'm kind of curious if spawning more things for whirlwind healing kind of ends in a draw.
Because of the double explosion right now, I think it would at the very least break even, if not win. That's tough to say. Plus, she has a break roots cooldown. So, like, I did a Urel into Zool that went great because I can remove my own root. Okay.
Yeah, the Sonya one is the one I'm the most interested in because I played quite a bit of Zool today, and not once did I end up getting matched against a Sonya. And it's the only one I think that kind of has an interesting chance. But yeah, it comes down to the double explosion bug and the fact that you are.
And still, when we remove that from the picture, your superior place in actually battling Zool is things like Zagar, where you just will not interact with Bone Prison range, which means Jailers isn't working, which means Trag'Ghul's Essence isn't supplying. I love this new level 7 Wall of Bones, increase the shield amount of bone armor to 35% of max health, and Zool gains 20 spell armor. That spell armor, that's what's poking you in the first place and causing you a lot of trouble as Zool in the later game. I love this rework, man. I am so excited. I love playing Zool. We just kind of moved away from Blackheart's Bay, which padded his win rate, and he just didn't have it outside of lane. And even Braxis, what are you going to do? Like, you see the lanes come together, you sort of like stick a butt in the bush, so you're like sort of in range to make skeletons while battling Chen. It didn't work.
Yeah. Let's talk about Callan's Edict for just a second. And this will be kind of talked about in line with the bugs, and we kind of mentioned it already, but we didn't actually explain exactly what Callan's Edict does. So it's at level 20. It has new functionality in which every time a skeletal warrior deals damage, you reduce the cooldown of bone armor and Zool's heroic ability. Repeat, Zool's heroic ability by 1.5%. This is quite good because spawning skeletons is not particularly hard. At the moment it's bugged, and you can spawn more than you're supposed to have, and they're also exploding twice upon death instead of once as intended, so you are getting a lot of a reduction on your cooldown. Your heroic is up quite a bit in late game fights if you're spawning skeletons. So
you're an XP machine as Zool, and getting to level 20 isn't the most difficult thing in the world for that team with a Zool on it. All of these 50% increased duration on poison, on buildings even looks great. Cold Hand of Death. Every 5th Spectral Scythe spawns a Frost Mage instead of a Skeletal Warrior is super duper cool. And granted, that stacks a little bit with Echoes of Death that spawns those 2 additional scythes. So there are reasons to break the blue build. And that's where the diversification of the talents comes in. Those are the things that start to make Jailers look good. And when Jailers is good, Zool is fun. When we had one build for 2 years now on Zool, this rework is a huge success. All we got to do is clean up the bits.
I think it would be honestly cool if the Jailer skeletons intentionally exploded twice once the bug gets fixed. Like all other skeletons explode once, but jailer skeletons explode twice because I think once those bugs get brought in line, having 2 skeletons out of lane is only going to go so far. It would be kind of cool if they were a little more empowered. It's kind of where my brain goes. But yeah, I'm with you. Like overall, like my gut reaction when I read through this and went and kind of tried Zool out was that this felt like not a big change, that overall Zool kind of felt the same. But in practice, I think it's just that it's subtle. Because like I read the dev comments and they're like, yeah, you're going to be skeleton warrior like crazy. And then I like the first thing I read is they like, you can only have 3 now instead of 4. I'm like, oh, that's kind of disappointing. But in practice, yeah, the damage output is higher. Even like just them like smacking on them, like because Bone Prison is focusing their attacks. You get your quest done. You're getting 2 that pop with the Bone Prison. You really do feel a little like significantly more empowered with your skeletal warriors. So, bugs aside, I want to like give a hat tip to this rework. I think it's actually pretty damn well done.
Right now, according to our stats websites, Zool is shooting up anywhere from 4% to 12% since this patch dropped, which would put him in the 63% win rate area. There might be some issues. Kerrigan's actually taking it away more than Zool right now, but
is Kerrigan free to play?
Might be. I'll check that out. But I am hoping that when the bugs get fixed, we compensate for whatever we need to here with Zool. Maybe he's properly balanced without them. Either way, man, I'm just so thrilled. I'm so happy. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to the bugs being a thing of the past so we can actually have a conversation about the rework itself as it's supposed to work, as intended, and go from there. So
Kerrigan is not free to play this week, though. Kael'thas is, along with Artanis.
Well, that's it. Your theory dies, Kyle.
All right, bummer. Too bad.
I want to bring back Dive Comp, so I'm excited to see Kerrigan doing all right. I miss Kerrigan and Uberak, man. Like, can we make that happen somewhere sometime? Do you want to get on an Uberak? I'll jump on the old carry and we'll just stun some days into ruin.
Hey, remember my new theory? When we apply it to Zool here, it's that I want to be doing blue build. Now I have these offshoot options if the enemy isn't grouping to the strength that I need Zool to perform with that build. That's where a hero starts to be really solid, and we get that Twilight Dream Tranquility exchange. I'm not sure that exchange works for a Uberak yet.
Gotcha. But what if I don't want to do blue build? What if the only thing I'm literally only interested in jailers and nothing else?
Then you've got a decent build for yourself, but have you been there? Have you played a game of Zool where you went full blue build and 1v5'd?
Yeah, before the rework, that's all I ever did.
Well, it still feels good, doesn't it?
You're damn right. You're damn right it does, but jailers is just fun, and I'm here for fun.
All right. Well, yeah, I think there's a place for jailers on things like Braxis. I won my Braxis matches with that one. So ones where you'll be 1v1ing for an extended period of time.
Yep. If I'm here for fun, if I'm here for ruthless efficiency, I'd play Rexar, but Misha's dead. So just gonna bring the rest of the episode. Anduin is up next as we move into the healers. The dev said that he is indeed popular. However, from a win rate perspective, Anduin is underperforming, so they're giving him some buffs, mostly to underperforming talents. However, Chastise did get a base level buff, getting a 10 damage increase.
That's almost one Rexar's worth.
What is a Rexar?
Rexar is 9 points of auto attack damage.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. There you go.
100 health off Misha is a Misha's worth, and a Rexar's worth is 10
Rexars is worth a Misha in the bush.
Yes, exactly. The calendar system to match the imperial and metric system.
Yeah, just strap in for salt this episode, everybody. Yeah, it's true, man. Like, and it's really interesting because Anduin is one of those heroes that has consistently had low win rates that I feel like you are not bummed to see on our team.
No, but that's because the passion.
It's one of these like passion there. There's a respect that I have of Anduin players. I don't get it because it's not for me, and like I'm an old school Uther, and to me Anduin's just like millennial Uther. Like I'm sitting there like boomer Uther going, no, back in my day we played piano builds and we liked it.
Now watch me while I heal one target, son. And he's like, oh, like this, and heals everyone.
Yeah,
and they're protected.
Yeah. Exactly.
But granted, I just made a huge sin in all the eyes of the Anduins out there because Light Bomb is the biz that they won all day long.
Oh, dude. Now you have me looking back very fondly on last week's Hero League games that we two stacked. Do you remember that Anduin we ended up in the game with? That it was like just god tier, just getting off bombs perfectly. Ooh.
Well, and the thing that Anduin did in that game that was so impressive to me, I believe their name was Lola Doll. He threw the chastise every time I stunned on ETC, and just that recognition of follow-up CC is what I think right now makes a top-tier support. Anna's in a unique place because she's often like, someone attack the sleepy target, boo, or deny a space. But I think our best supports right now are really follow-up CCers, and they're not afraid to use it on enemy tanks because they want to survive, and they're right there with the tank the whole time. I want to learn Anduin. I think that these buffs are all underperforming talents, as the dev says. Many of these things have not changed the way that Anduins want to play. I was talking with Kai Berries last night that even-handed blessing still doesn't spark joy despite these additions. Light of Stormwind is really cute, though, at level 20 now. What previously happened was they got 30% max health upon ending. Salvation increased to 30% of max health, and upon ending, allied heroes gained 40% movement speed for 3 seconds. That's gone. What happens now is everyone inside is invulnerable. So we basically have a big bad voodoo situation here where Anduin is protected and exposed, but a stun will still cancel the ult. But everybody else in the area is invulnerable, no longer just protected, immune to stuns.
That's really cool, man. That is awesome. Like, just having a giant zone of I get to do whatever the hell I want.
Right. So, Muradin's like, no, Anduin, don't. And shoots a storm bolt and 2 heroes are in front of Anduin. Nothing happens. No one's stunned. Anduin keeps channeling. Earthquake comes through by Thrall. That hits everybody. Anduin stops casting. So there's still counter playability here. I think this works really well, though, with what you want Light of Stormwind, Holy Word Salvation to do in the first place. Giving movement speed was kind of a surprise that no one really knew how to use.
So what I'm hearing is I have to take Leap on every Sonya game against an Anduin for level 20.
Probably not a bad idea. Wait, level 20. Oh, yeah. I see what you mean.
He gets level 20. I need a guaranteed stun. I need it. No one else can get in the way.
It's kind of that, yeah. So, let's apply the logic to it, right?
Empower me to take Leap, Kyle. Empower. Just be a bad influence. Tell me it's okay to take Leap.
But you want Light Bomb because it supplies a stun on your team and gives that shielding that makes a target like Malthael or your tank really empowered for their big moves. Sanctification is an emergency ult because maybe you misdrafted Anduin, or that something very particular on the enemy team you are countering, like a Pyroblast.
Thank you, Professor Kyle.
You're welcome. Just keeping things real.
Will there be a test next week?
Yes. You'll be quizzed in Storm League in a party with me.
The test is called Playing Heroes of the Storm.
Exactly.
Anduin. Karazim. Apparently they thought that Peaceful Response could add something to Karazim players who are good at proccing Divine Palm. So they took a look at it. Its addition has now additional functionality, increases the healing Divine Palm by 75% if you were taking Peaceful Repose at 20. Not response, repose.
popularity for Divine Palm at 10 is at 34% with a 45% win rate. That is 3% lower than Seven-Sided Strike's win rate. And that's where we find ourselves with Kharazim. Really cool, though, that this is so big. I mean, that's some big healing, and it still has all the old techs, whereas if they don't die, you get it back in 5 seconds and can cast it again. But hey, Seven-Sided Strike's right there, and that's what Kharazim is doing in the game right now.
Yeah, it'd be pretty. I want to. Can they just add a mini? Oh my God, what is the thing called right now? The XP orbs.
Keanu Reeves.
No, not Keanu Reeves. The Nexus anomaly. Yeah. Jesus, why could I think of the anomaly? Okay, yeah. My brain kept thinking Amalgam. I've been playing too much Hearthstone Battlegrounds, where Amalgam is not in there anymore unless you play Curator. Can we put a mini anomaly in where there's just no 5 seconds? It's just you instantly have it back if it doesn't go off on Kharazim?
That'd be interesting.
Just think of how cool it would be to have a fight where it's just like, zhong, zhong. Like, you're just popping it on people. And so, like, your now decision to be made as the opponents playing against this Kharazim is like, do we just pop it so this sucker can't just keep doing this? Do we just intentionally pop it?
You know, I don't think that's extreme because you often have to combine your palm with a dash because the cast range on it is so small. So you're taking a cast ability to get in range for the palm, kind of in a Brightwing teleporting in, you're exposing Kharazim to danger by landing a palm in the first place. You do not disappear into the ether with Seven-Sided Strike to save yourself. That sounds perfectly acceptable to me.
Cool. How long until we have a level 20 where he can move his Seven-Sided Strike as it's going?
Oh, jeez. Oh, my goodness.
Over Siege Sergeant Hammer, but for Kharazim's Seven-Sided Strike. That radius just starts scooting at, let's call it half movement speed.
No, I don't want that. I don't want to see that.
Oh, come on. Level 20, man.
I mean, it's just, but you've been there, right? Like, versus Diablo Kharazim and just not getting to play the video game.
Yes.
It's
the worst.
Fun.
It's the pits.
Yeah, so imagine if you're a skilled Cho'Gall and your Gall says, I got you, and nudges you sideways, and Kharazim chases you.
Maybe they should start implementing little rules for quick, maybe not, don't go as far as they went before with quick match where they were like, you will have a tank, you will have a healer, but maybe they just start looking at excessive win rates with particular combinations and then just like, yeah, no, these two heroes don't get to randomly get put together in quick match.
Longer queue times is always the counter answer.
That shouldn't be as bad as forcing healers and tanks in every game.
That's fair. It's, The interesting thing about Seven-Sided Strike is kind of the Hyperion situation. If we all got inside of it, it's less destructive because it only has so many targets. And Seven-Sided Strike is an extreme of this. Like, when Diablo Kharazim dive your tank, like, even Jaina needs to say, I'll help and run in there and take a 7%er. But we don't because Diablo just scared everybody by jumping out of the bush and Kharazim's already destroyed the tank.
Fair.
So... well, what do we do? How do we empower that knowledge?
Not too sure. Shall we talk about Rhaegar?
Let's do that. Let's move on.
All right. They said that they're giving Gladiator's War Shout a fairly substantial buff to make it more powerful and interesting, and as a result, also buffing Bloodlust. As a result, also buffing Bloodlust is one of my favorite things to read in Heroes of the Storm. Yeah, absolutely. There are a few heroics that just make me more excited to take things that will tilt my team than Bloodlust because it's just so fun, Kyle. It's just so fun to take Bloodlust. They as I said, they're really hoping to open up an alternate play style for Rhaegar, and so Bloodlust's lifesteal amount has been increased from 30 to 40% of damage dealt. Are you interested in it yet, Kyle?
Okay, let's sell it first in that Bloodlust takes up the entire screen. You will Bloodlust people you cannot see. I am currently in the try mode in lane, and I'm going to Bloodlust all the target dummies.
Okay.
That is a lot of range at 20. My biggest problem with Bloodlust is that I feel like I can never take advantage of its power. I am going to give everybody attack speed, movement speed. I like all of that. But healing them for 40% of their basic attack damage hurts Zul'jin, and Bloodlust with movement speed and attack speed feels like an engage tool. Something that I will pop and last 8 seconds at the start of a fight. Not to say, no, Vala, hang on, I got you, wah, which makes it incredibly different than Ancestral Healing, but I almost feel like the power pie is undelicious. Like a huge part of it is in this 40% basic attack heal, and I want it to be somewhere else.
Okay. All right. You want it to be in Ancestral Healing, I guess?
Yeah, no. Like I'm saying, like that part that gives basic attack heal, I just want it to make the movement speed or attack speed better. Because I'm using it on engage, and if the engage goes great, they never needed that healing in the first place. If we are all standing in one bush and I pop Bloodlust and we all run out of there, booking buns at 40% attack speed, 35% movement speed for 8 seconds, what did I need the healing for in the first place?
But not every engagement over the course of the game is going to be out of a bush. Sometimes you just have a fight.
Right. A prolonged fight that lasts 8 seconds, and the heal keeps everybody topped off for that time.
Yeah.
I think that's where my brain just conflicts with the fantasy of Bloodlust and where I don't feel like it's good.
Is your biggest issue that it is a timed ability, and so in reality you should just disengage from it?
Maybe not necessarily, because the movement speed, it's hard to disengage from people who are running at you faster.
Okay, that's where I was going with it. It's like it sounds like you almost think the movement speed isn't enough, but that's a lot of movement speed. Because that's, right, I think, the push and pull. That's the push and pull of it, as I see it for something like Bloodlust. Is it's easy to say, oh, just disengage. It's like, well, they're literally on speeder bikes at this point, bearing down on us. It's not that simple, and that I think is the balance of the ability.
Yeah, it's a possibly just an issue I need to get over and enjoy the new Bloodlust. The mistake power of, kill Arthas and then Ancestral Healing hits is too good in a Storm League environment. When I pop Bloodlust, I'm going to ruin Zul'jin, which is like one of the main heroes I'm thinking about, or Raynor and Vala are just going to live anyways because we're schooling. And that's where I butt heads with it. Like imagine, like it's divided into 3, so you got a whole third of a power pie that you could mess with. What if it did a small AoE fear around Rhaegar? Like, let's go nuts, but that's too far, sure. But what if we took that 40% heal and we put it in more movement speed or more attack speed, right? Like, that's where I feel like it would be better earned. Okay.
All right. I feel that. I mean, in reality, I am defending fun, and you are bringing the sanity, because that's how we play Storm League. We target a target, hopefully, to burn down.
I love Packet's idea in the chat here. What if instead Bloodlust gave auto attack damage as shields? Ooh.
Why do you like that more than healing?
What? Because the Zul'jin's not gaining health and ruining his sweet trait, and top health Raynor that doesn't need any healing is enjoying a shield. Everybody benefits.
It's just Zul'jin. The Raynor is not always top health. Sometimes there's a McIntyre Dahaka that's pulling that Raynor somewhere he doesn't want to be.
Sometimes the tank is auto attacking and needs some healing too. Like, I get, but
yeah,
I gotta go with extremes here, and like I Bloodlust Garrosh, and movement speed's great for him. The rest of it, attack speed and auto attack heal, isn't doing anything for Garrosh with his big axe because his auto attack sucks.
Well, I'm not saying it should be good for every single comp.
No, it shouldn't be. Absolutely. Greymane too busy casting spells sometimes to actually get an auto attack depending on your league. This is something that I might just need to get over, and with this increased gladiators. Like, you can be in like the messiest cursed hollow fight now at 20 with half your team on one side of the trees, the other half farting around the boss, and hit everybody with blood loss. This could be incredible. It's something I have to get over.
All right, cool. Well, let's move on to Stukov, someone I was reintroduced to yesterday and had a good time on. The dev said that Stukov is underperforming a bit compared to other healers, and his talents are in a fairly good place right now. So to help him out, they're beefing up some of his base stats. So a decent chunk of health, more than one Misha, to actually slightly less than one Misha. Getting added Stukov. And slightly less than 100 health being added on, regen going up accordingly. And weighted pustule is having its damage when expiring increased. That's it. Now but base health increases, man. I love base health increases, and if you haven't been able to tell, I hate base health decreases. So yeah, I think this is good. This is good for Stukov, especially you want to get in there, man. You don't have that much range for your silent zone. And that meat arm hurts. You got to get it in there and do some whacking.
Yeah, I really like Stukov on Battlefield of Eternity for that reason, though he can struggle to heal things like Vala at times. Just getting that meat arm in there for a little bit of camp clear as well as objective clear.
Struggle to heal Vala.
You can top her off. I gotta think about Vala a bit because I really don't know what to do alongside of her.
Stukov is like a half step to Uther because the big healing has a long cooldown between it, but he has the heal over time to fill the gap.
What really interests me about Stukov here is the weighted pustule increase, because as the game goes on and with the popularity of things like reactive ballistospore, this could be a pretty good contribution in damage for Stukov. Even at 8 points, this could inspire more pustule builds that aren't as based on fetid touch, that aren't as based on, we got our virulent reaction players, but if we really focus in on getting a good damage contribution out of our supports, things like poppin' pustules at 13 might be even better. Increase the expiration damage by 150%. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Bio kill switch gets better. I'm interested.
It's good. I like Stukov, even though I haven't been playing him for quite a while, but worked out yesterday. So. Kerrigan is up next as we move into the melee assassins as we get out of Healersville. The dev said that they heard feedback from Kerrigan players for some time that they would like to have the ability to cancel Chrysalis early. It's been a long time since I thought about this, but I'm fairly certain I have been one of these players maybe a year and a half ago when I was preaching the good word of Chrysalis back when we were having to dodge Falstad hinterlands blasts everywhere.
Yeah, that was an interesting time.
That was an interesting time. That didn't last very long, but at the time, I remember being in it at the moment and just feeling like this was just the new way of things. And so I started taking Chrysalis and it was working out really well, but I hated that I couldn't cancel it early. So anyway, they said that they originally intended it to be this way to separate it a bit from other similar mechanics and to give opponents a reliable way to counter it, but found that it ended up being less fun and interesting overall. So because of this, we're adding the ability for Kerrigan to cancel the effect early. I love this.
Yeah, how could you not?
Yeah, I mean, more control is just more fun. So I get it here, and I don't necessarily think they were wrong, and especially after talking to Adam last week, like, and understanding how important he and the team feels a window of counterplay is. But I think you could make a fair argument for, does Chrysalis really need that much counterplay?
5 seconds was a really long time for her. I don't think because of the dive comp, there were situations where you just were surrounded by the enemy team while waiting for that Chrysalis to function. Usually you had other companions in a Kerrigan situation. I like what they did with the Psionic Barrier too. They now have taken the spell armor and combined it with some movement speed. So you've got other options to dodge instead of just Chrysalis through. But level 13, nice. I think we'll see more Kerrigan play.
I agree. Or on to some Moro. The dev said said, excuse me, hiccup out of nowhere. Dance of Death was a little too hard to proc, so we're lowering its requirements so that players can get more resets more often from the heroic upgrade. So a little more level 20 love happening in this patch. Required heroes hit to reset cooldown reduced from 25 to 20 on Dance of Death.
Remember that everything that is happening in the balance team is about changing a hero with the assumption that bugs are going to be fixed. So lots of people lost their hats over a buff to anything Samura related.
Yeah. Butcher's up next. They said that to reduce the amount of time that Butcher has to commit to a charge before he can cancel it, they're reducing that amount of time. They want to make it feel more responsive. And so instead of a full second before you can cancel your charge, it's now 3/4 of a second. Much like Chrysalis. I like this a lot. Now, this isn't as like instantly available to you in terms of being able to be like, oh, I made a mistake. Let's pump the brakes as canceling Chrysalis is now. But any help here is very, very welcome, especially like, dude, I have been feeling the pull back to Butcher something fierce lately.
I think he's in a decent spot. And this feels like the mini project of this patch was to clean up and maybe even show off that we can remove clunk when we think it is right for a hero. And there's a nice little quality of life business for Butcher. I don't think we'll see him go crazy because of it.
I don't think so either. That is this. If you're dealing with a full second go down to 3/4 of a second, yeah, that is a 25% reduction, which sounds like a lot. But when we're working within like a fraction of a second increments, this is modest. I think this is fine. I don't think Butcher's going to go nuts based on this.
No, and remember here, like this is a decast that takes your cooldown. And
right.
Those that have reacted to it strongly are thinking that Butcher's going to be like, me. Oh, just kidding. Me. Like, oh, no. Like your cooldown's gone. And if you are doing Unrelenting Pursuit, for instance, that gives you a reduced cooldown on impact, you are still waiting that full cooldown because you did not impact.
Yeah. That's a good point to bring up too, is the loss in your cooldown. Right.
Still happening.
Yep. All right, Range Assassin, to bring us home, Mephisto is up first. They said that Malicious Intent and Trickery are getting their additional procs slightly less often than we would like, so we're reducing that requirement. So, yeah, Malicious Intent at 1. The number of enemy heroes you have to hit is going from 20 to 18. And same for Trickery, from 20 to 18. That's at level 7.
Man, I don't want to see any Mephisto buffs. That's where I'm going to be a little cautious and superstitious here. Mephisto is out there 1v5ing folk because of things like movement speed, because of level 4 shielding. The lightning build Mephisto is 100% the thing to be doing right now, and it is intense. I've even seen Shard of Hate that splits your basic attacks and reduces cooldowns because people are fighting Clump. It's why Greymanes are dangerous right now. We're running Bruiser Tank all the time, and Mephisto is the new Kael'thas, but we haven't been playing against him for 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've said it before. I said it like I know you and Last just tried to get me on Mephisto, and I did give him an honest try, and I just found it like I just don't like his kit. But like I'm seeing it too where I am. Like Mephisto is a force to be reckoned with, and so now Mephisto is just like inhabiting that realm of heroes that are just mysteriously amazing to me. Because like I cannot crack this nut.
Really take some time to think about Shade of Mephisto's damage on teleport. It's 78, but it's Calamity. That's how Mephistos are completing kills, and then they are buzzing for reduced cooldowns and doing it over and over again. It's insane. It's once you unlock that simple thought, Mephisto starts to click. And the counterplay options exist, but they're tough to pull off.
Yeah, there's just something about him that just does not flow for me. There's something very weird about the way that he moves around the battlefield and lands his abilities that really makes me fail. But whatever the case is, beware the Mephistos out there. Let's talk about Raynor, because the devs wanted to talk about Raynor. They said that their thinking with the recent Raynor changes was in the previous patch was to solve a design problem with Ace in the Hole's mandatory synergy with Unstable Compound while at the same time giving him an overall buff and making his other 2 talents measure up to its new power. And they did say this was, in fact, successful, but they underestimated how much more powerful Ace in the Hole would become compared to the new buffed alternatives. So they're just lowering its damage to compensate for the slow that it gained, which makes sense.
Yeah.
The slow that it gained was a serious buff.
Definitely. And there's plenty of other heroes to stack with Raynor that made him good before that happened in the first place. I welcome a Raynor that's a bit more fluid in his level 1 picks. I saw a Raynor doing full extermination camp build yesterday, and he took a lot of camps and really won the game for the enemy team. In fact, that win rate is highest on Exterminator. But, you know, we're picking him on Battlefield of Eternity now, and Ace in the Hole is most popular and certainly played everywhere else.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I'm okay with this. I know we traditionally don't like to see nerfs. We'd rather see other things, buffed in response, but like this makes a lot of sense. It got a slow. It's really good. Doesn't bother me.
Well, and in summation, there was a lot of buffs this patch. This was a buff-heavy patch. The only nerfs were on Raynor and Rexar.
Yeah, for the most part, like you're absolutely right. I mean, Zul's a rework, which right now we're definitely calling a buff. I think even once the bugs get fixed, it's going to fall in the buff category. But who do you think won overall? Besides Zul? Well, we can't count Zul. Zul has a major asterisk right now.
I really want to put Arthas at the top of the list because his level 20s were on our docket for so long to be adjusted that having him have that at least increased power spike at 20 means that Arthas is shoring up so many weaknesses that he has if he's early picked and getting that win when otherwise it would have been a loss.
I mean, they're mild and they don't make me lose my mind. And I just blame Adam for informing me of how much he wants to make Broodlust a thing last week. But you're not wrong. Like, none of this hurts. None of this is a bad thing. It's just, we've seen some crazy things lately in level 20s being addressed, and it just seems mild. But, you also got a base health increase. And if base health increase is going to make me lose my mind on Misha, it should also make me excited about an increase over on Arthas.
I mean, that's about half a Misha's worth.
Crying out loud. Kyle, I got personal on today's episode. It got personal. I don't think my thoughts on Rexar and the nerfs were fully formed. And in closing, because as we've gone through this episode, I think I landed on something that's a little less emotional.
Okay.
Which is when Misha is dead, you are disabling the stun button on the hero. And that's just like borderline unacceptable to me. It's like any other hero with a stun. How would you take it if there was a point where if they dealt like 50% of your life, you just couldn't use your stun for not quite a minute?
What if at 20 you could take Ghost of Misha and it dealt a 75% slow? It dealt no auto attack damage, but you kept the bear and it could do, one of those big like Chen or Totem style slows, 90%.
No, it's not a stun.
All right.
It's not a stun. I like the flavor of that actually a lot. That's pretty rad.
I don't think you're wrong. You're showing your hand, and that is perfectly acceptable because your roster is volatile, and losing Rexar is such a huge part of it.
I mean, I think I've kind of been losing him a little bit already because of just how people around me are drafting.
Yeah.
There was a point for a very long time where that slot was just uncontested. Nobody wanted to go solo lane. No one even wanted to really play a bruiser. So it was just kind of free for me to get. And as people have more and more have been enjoying their weird ass pick that kind of ruins bringing Rexar into the mix, it's clearly still very personally scorned today. That's just kind of got away. So to me, this is a very, very personal cherry on top of a not particularly exciting Sunday made of dirt and sadness.
Like Ariel was to me, man, like these things hurt because we have weaknesses. And I encourage you to shore up your weakness. And we talked a lot about like Bruiser and tanking these roles. On top of that, I want you to think about what's not being accessed. And for me, Thrall is so amazing because he not only supplies an off-tank role that Misha might be able to do, he has the slow and movement speed to access Li Ming. And that is often a role that's not being filled. So Rexxar has so many other weaknesses that were shored up by his amazing presence in that lane. Yes, you had a follow-up stun for the tank. How are you going to deal with Li Ming? Like that, those are the questions to answer now. And I think you'll still find a place for Rexxar when you want that follow-up. You know, it could be that Stitches situation. Stitches gets a hook, you supplied the stun. Now you've got a tiny ETC rolling with Stitches. That might be a better place for your brain than my universal hero that did everything is now bad.
Fair.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. I'm not trying to counteract your pain.
You just turn the stun off. Like, that's what I'm having trouble getting past this point. There's so much other value from Misha, which we've already talked about at length. But just removing a button is hard.
There are probably people listening right now that are like, Garrett, Zagara has been rocking.
I don't get the picker. There's too many of you taking Tyrael, okay? I have to make up for your insanity. I can't pick Zagara when people are trying to solo tank as Stitches or bring Tyrael into my games. So it's rough. It's rough. I'm feeling personally attacked this week, and we'll end it there.
All right.
So anyways, folks, this is a long one, as we expected it to be because of the patches, but do not let that stop you from continuing to send emails to itncast@gmail.com for when we do have an episode that we can fit an email segment into. If you are a patron over at patreon.com/ITN supporting this here program, you can skip the inbox entirely and just drop us a message in the patron Discord. We highly recommend you do that. There's also some fine folks in there. Great place to make friends. Great place to put up pickup groups and go stomping around the Nexus with. So go check it out. Speaking of our patrons, we'd really like to thank our producers, Declan H, Cheesy Bob, Chris K, Mike C, and our latest producer, Kyle. We have a new producer in town, Eric C. Welcome, Eric.
Welcome, Eric C.
Thank you very, very much. And I'm sorry for not getting to your Discord question quick enough, but I see that you figured it out. So, thank you, Eric. Thank you very much.
That's the end of the show.
Yep. You want to get yourself into the Nexus t-shirt? Head on over to shirts.amove.tv and check it out. We are typically live Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern time right here on twitch.tv/amovetv. Come join us. Come hang out in the chat room. They're also very fine people. Very nice.
Yes, they are.
Very kind. They're like a living, breathing Google when we don't remember the names of things. That they're also super helpful. And sometimes they make me laugh and I have to mute myself in the middle of the show and no one knows why on the podcast because they didn't see the funny thing that was just said in chat room. So it's also that we can't have all the ideas, and we appreciate you sharing your ideas as we go through these balance notes. So thank you for being here, everyone, today live and at home, sending emails and in the Discord, talking in our episode discussions tab and our questions for the episode tab. Yes. So ITN Cast on Twitter if you want to follow the show. And other than that, Kyle, you're doing so much rad stuff nowadays outside of Into the Nexus. Where can everybody find you?
You can find my drafting guides over at Heroes Hearth, and in particular, the YouTube for Heroes Hearth, youtube.com/Heroes Hearth is where you can find me sporting. This next week is going to be a Mal'Ganis drafting guide. Just did a Malfurion drafting guide. Excited to share what I'm doing this next week. You should also check out, if you are at all Dungeon Master curious, DM 5th edition. Check out the podcast. DM gives inspiration. This last week, I went over how to run a city, and my primary example was the 1984 movie Ghostbusters.
Nice.
That's right. I described Ghostbusters for a good 5 minutes as though it was a pen and paper RPG.
That's amazing. Go listen to that. Folks, I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. I would really appreciate it if you went to hotslogs.com and got your hero stats. Took a look at who's doing good, who's on the rise with the new patch. I'm looking at you, Zool. 3.7% uptick. I bet it's going to be a lot more than that next week. 7 days time.
Illidan's up 8%, so data is still flowing.
Yeah. The uploader is fixed. It's working wonderfully. So go get the new uploader. If you never had it before, get it in the first place. If you currently have the old one, it doesn't work. Go get the new one. Go to hotslogs.com. It's linked right there on the landing page, because before, the only way to get to the uploader was to go to your profile, but now you can just get it. Even if like you don't have a profile, you can get the uploader and send us your replays to add to the massive pile of data we have to pull from. The more of you that use the uploader, the more accurate and useful the stats are. So go check it out, hotslogs.com. It's also a surprising amount of you hanging out on the Facebook group, which I'm not used to using Facebook. And it's like, oh, people are actually here and talking and interacting. So go check it out. Other than that, AMOVE TV for all the podcasts, this one included, just put out a new episode of Angry Chicken last night. Looks like there's going to be some really big Hearthstone news next week. So go subscribe to the Angry Chicken, wherever podcasts can be found. And that's going to bring us to the end of this episode. We will be back next week for episode 313 of Into the Nexus. But until then, good luck, have fun, and try and keep those Misha pounds off.
Take care.